Our first speaker will be Danielle Casey. She is the Executive Vice President for the Greater Sacramento Economic Council. She hails from Arizona, right? Most recently. She came out of Scottsdale, where she was the Economic Development Director there. She's been here for just a few months. And I heard her speak a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I've got to have her on the panel. I'm very excited for what she's going to present today. Please welcome Danielle.
Cool. Well, I want to thank Joel. I was actually traveling this weekend quite a bit, and he was extremely patient with me on my slides. So thank you so much. So when I mentioned most recently, I was a military brat. So this is my 8th state. I was in Arizona for a very good chunk of time there in municipal government doing economic development. So does this guy work? Or oh yeah, I'm just going to do the Vanna thing. So anyway, so I have I got here in August. I know you're all wondering if she bought a house yet. But no, I came out. I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving the Sacramento region. I'm in Midtown, and who knows what the Greater Sacramento Economic Council is? How many of you are like, what the hell? Okay, all right. Well, so one of the reasons I'm here is to kind of get us past that and make sure everybody's informed. In my career as an economic development professional, one of the things I've noticed is that economic development groups are really great at talking to commercial real estate folks and political leaders and people in the community, and we do forget about our residential real estate brokers, which is completely ridiculous because you're talking to the people on the streets that are solving some of the biggest issues for our companies that we have. So what I'm going to hit you up with today is just, very high level, kind of set the stage in our regional economy so that you can put some of this into perspective. And then also, I really want you to think about us as a resource. We've got a lot of great data and information you can tap into, so keep that in mind. All right, so let's see, big shiny stuff. So, okay, I'm going to give you a couple of, and I think this is what Joel enjoyed so much, some scary realities about our economy in the Greater Sacramento region. So, a little bit of statistics, and this is one of the things that Greater Sacramento Economic Council does well, and kind of backing up again on what we are and who we are, I guess. We are a regional economic development organization, so we're a public-private partnership. I need it down? Am I too? Can I do this? This is gonna drive me nuts. How's that? Is that okay? Okay, perfect. Look at that. So we're a public-private partnership. So we have public investors as well as private investors, and we represent the whole 6-county region. So we have 43 CEOs on our board of directors, and then also 6 counties are represented and 13 member communities. So when you think about the people that are involved in these efforts, it's quite a pool of folks that really do care about the economy and that are engaged with us. And so one of the big pieces of work that we do is research-based. We do a lot of homework about the economy so we can figure out how to affect it for the region, because ultimately what we're charged with is bringing in new jobs, growing jobs, and impacting the economy in a positive way. So that's not a bad thing, right? So hopefully you've all been checking this out and realizing that this paints a little bit of a grim picture when we think that 1/3 of our residents are in a struggling family, right? And we look at our really low MSA rankings for our metropolitan area in terms of growth, prosperity, and inclusion. So these aren't things that I'm out there using as selling points, right? These are things I'm using internally to talk to people about and go, okay, great, then what are we doing to address this? Another piece, and one of the big things that we're focused on, is figuring out how do we grow tradable sector jobs in our region, because we are unbelievably dependent, as you all, I'm not telling you anything you didn't know, right? Except maybe the numbers and how big these pie charts are. When you look at Greater Sacramento, share of government jobs, and we compared, these are all state capital locations. It's really tremendous how much we're relying on government and not bringing in other employment. So this is one of the things that our organization was really formed to address. And in its current state, with the board makeup and the bylaws and the structure that we have, Greater Sacramento Economic Council, I can forgive all of you for not knowing who we are because we're only 3.5 years old. So it's a very young organization, but the way we are built is really a best practices model in economic development across the nation. Okay, so when we look at our low relative growth rate in tradable sector jobs, this is also kind of a scary thing. We're looking, and are you guys familiar with what a tradable sector job is? Essentially, it is a job that is manufacturing or exporting some type of service or good that's bringing that new wealth into the region. So, whereas, service industry is a spin-off multiplier. If somebody comes in and you've got, a new engineer who's helping manufacture something and they're exporting goods, that engineer then also creates a number of multiplier jobs in the region, so retail, service, etc. We really want to focus on the tradable sector jobs that have the highest multiplier rate and therefore the greatest impact on the region and the economy. So with those scary stats, what's going on and what are our strengths, right? What do we have to look forward to that's pretty exciting? So a couple of things. I always like to put this in the perspective of site selectors, and we focus on national site selectors that are working to locate some of those. So think about the Amazon HQ2 thing, right? Who are the guys behind sending out that RFP and running that whole analysis? And that's an obvious example, but there are a couple, probably only about a couple hundred national site selection consultants that focus 100% on locating large corporate footprints across the nation. And so, they're first, comparing states and state incentives, and then they're comparing regions, and then they're looking at everything, from, again, the cost of residential housing to the cost of labor to tax incentives, and figuring out where is the best operational environment for that company. And that, again, what's going to be a determining factor for that can mean a lot of things, and there are different things that can actually affect the cost at the end of the day. So one of the things we do is help companies and help make sure that they're looking at all of those different things that contribute to their operational costs, so they don't knock us out of the water right away. Because what we hear, I doubt this is a surprise to anybody, when I talk to national site selection consultants, I go, well, why didn't you consider Greater Sacramento? Well, you're in California, you have a tough operating environment, regulatory cost, etc., right? So how do we show them and paint a better picture of, yes, but, there's a lot of other factors here that make this a very positive environment for your business, and you can be very successful. So one of the things I like to show everybody on these factors is really number one, and this is generalization in site selectors, but right now, availability of labor and then the cost of that labor is absolutely the number one site selection factor, which is why you all are so important as you're working with people and helping them figure out, that they can live here and expand and grow and have a great quality of life, right? But this is absolutely critical. What I always love is, even though it's still in the top 10, tax exemptions are not nearly as important as whether they can actually get the talent they need. And for us, it matters if the talent wants to live here, right? All right, so we also do have some very good cost-effective growth opportunities. I'd say our biggest challenge, and I think it might be on the next slide, is we don't have the product, kind of going back to that government regulation issue, right? So we are not as expensive, obviously, as the Bay Area, not by a long shot, and also, other competitor markets in there, especially in their urban core areas. We're very competitive. We're very competitive if you have a compelling reason to be in the California market and be connected to what we like to call the mega region that encompasses the entire Bay Area and our whole region. So again, we like to talk to folks about the great benefit that we have here, and also a great cost of living index, which I'm also enjoying, so thank you very much, Greater Sacramento. Vacancy rates are going down, and then again, look at our under construction percentage of net new inventory, and we're talking about commercial opportunities, right? It's great. We can go out there and talk to companies all day long that are interested in bringing big footprints, but if we can't get them up and running and we don't have anywhere to put them, we're not going to land those jobs. So that's something that our team is out there working on, trying to, not only investigate and figure out how we can work with communities to adjust and address those regulations, but also work with developers to try to encourage them that they can actually build something here and have some stuff going on. All right, so one of the things, and Joel's like, I don't quite get this slide. Well, this is kind of going back to our metro comparisons. This is some of the work that we do. So when you think about Greater Sacramento, if you're out there talking to people that are either already here in the area, or they're growing and expanding in their home, or they're relocating, and I'd love to hear from all of you on what you're seeing in this market, because it is so new to me. We are also working with companies to show them what their total operational costs are. So this is just kind of a breakdown and an example of the types of data that we're running and sharing with companies. And as you'll see, depending on the industry, depending on the type of space they're looking at, we're not always the most competitive in terms of direct numbers, but then we can also factor in all the many quality of life criteria and reasons that somebody would want to be here. All right. So I'm going to keep rolling through, and sorry I keep looking back, but I didn't print these off. I got in at about midnight last night from a 10-hour flight, so I'm a little hazy. But we have a lot of room to grow business. right? We have a tremendous growth in population, and one of the things we do at Greater Sacramento is we don't just talk about the students that are within a 15-minute drive of the central core of Sacramento. We talk about a 100-mile region because that's where companies know that they can draw from. So we also have to not be too shy to claim all of those folks because we have an exceptional amount of talent in this region. So a couple of the initiatives that we're working on for economic growth. And I just wanted you all to kind of get a picture of some of the things that we do work on. So when you think about what is this Greater Sacramento Economic Council group doing out there, well, we get involved in and assist at a very sometimes at a periphery level and sometimes at a very involved level on some major business operation deals that have come here. So we've been very involved in the Centene deal and the announcement that's coming. There's Penumbra that's coming into the region, and then EA Sports, we've connected with them and assisted as well as they're expanding in the Midtown area. So when you think about some of the deals and you want to keep an eye on what we're doing and some of our news and job announcements, that's probably pretty important for you to keep an eye on, especially if they're going to be growing that residential population and attracting people into the area. So I'd be in front of them. And some of the other target industries that we're focused on. So if you want to look down, the pipeline and kind of see what a good opportunity is in the future, we're looking at food and agriculture, health and life science, and also future automotive. And we, I think we should have the video up online. We might have some Facebook Live stuff on our threads. But just last week we had a really fantastic discussion on future automotive, and what this is a discussion around whether the Greater Sacramento region is poised to be a location where electrical engineers can actually be focused on building the vehicles of the future, right? So not the software side on the automation and equipping existing vehicles, but actually building new automotive product altogether. And we really do have the talent and the educational institutions to do that. So I had some great conversations, and SMUD is actually funding a feasibility study with a group called PEM Aachen that is, it creates spin-offs and really helps launch companies in an innovation space. And they're based in Germany, but looking now to conduct a feasibility study to see if they can launch this here in the region, which could be very game-changing. And one of the things we like to do as an organization is, I like to call it skating to where the puck is going, not where it is. So how do we predict and try to analyze what's going to happen in industry in the future and figure out which ones we're the best poised to take advantage of and grow that in our region? And so that's one of the reasons we're pushing this. I'd encourage you to check that out. It's actually pretty cool stuff that I'm still wrapping my head around. All right, everybody heard about the Aggie Square project? We're very involved in trying to make sure to push that forward. The long story short is that this could result, if this happens, and we firmly believe it will, it's moving forward, this could be 10,000 new jobs or more. So please keep an eye on these types of developments because that can be, again, absolutely game-changing and important for you. And then 301 Capitol Mall. Is anybody familiar with this recent announcement about the launch? So again, we're working very hard to help attract anchor tenants so that this can get off the ground. I mean, this will really be probably the first absolute true Class A space that we'll see in downtown Sacramento. We have Class A space, but it's not this level and the level of what they're talking about building. And this will change the skyline of downtown Sacramento as well. And I think it'll give us a really compelling reason and a very good example of how we can bring people into the region. All right, so just last but not least, please check out our information if you're not familiar with us. I do want us to be a resource for the residential real estate community as well as the commercial real estate community, and really anybody who cares about what different things we're doing to push the economy forward in the Greater Sacramento region. This is, as Joel knows, and I think some others here who have been engaged with our organization, this is not even scratching the surface of the different types of work we do. We produce a tremendous amount of research and data. We do a ton of work on, so for example, our CEO, I'm the executive VP, we send him down to the Bay Area at least twice a month for 2 to 3 days at a time, and we line him up with 15 to 20 meetings. And he's pitching to companies, to commercial real estate brokers, and other multipliers, basically people who have clients that are companies that could be interested in expanding to this region. So we are producing the research to create the argument to send him out. We also hit other markets such as Seattle, Los Angeles. We're going to be looking into Chicago and New York. And we're also going to be at South by Southwest later this spring, which is mind-boggling to me that we don't have a presence there because it's kind of a celebration of San Francisco companies that happens to occur in Austin, Texas. So we're going to we kind of want to take that over. We're a little bit irked about that. So we get out and we do a lot of external lead generation from a business development standpoint. We do a tremendous amount of marketing, but it's targeted marketing to those different end users and clients. One of the things we're going to be doing is a community forum, and we're going to, I think, officially announce the save the date sometime this week. But look for that because it's early April. It'll be open to the public. And what we're going to do is bring in national site selection consultants to tell us what they really think about the region and what we need to address if we want to be competitive and we want to have a strong economy with more tradable industries in the future. So I think that's going to be really interesting, maybe even a little controversial. So who doesn't love that? And again, just remember, in terms of the makeup of our leadership, we have a lot of folks that are very invested and excited and supportive of what's going on in terms of driving this economy forward. And I will say, one of the reasons I was so drawn and so thrilled and honored to be recruited out here is that this really, the way our organization is set up, this is something that hasn't been in place in the past in Greater Sacramento. And so there are a lot of folks out there investing heavily in driving this economy forward in a very positive way, in a way that is very Sacramento. We're not looking to be someone else, but we want to take advantage of the, all of the best features of this region and help it grow and be successful. So with that, please check us out on our social, and then feel free to shoot me a note if you have any questions or comments, and check out our website too. We've got a great newsletter that you can subscribe to and just see what events and data sets and all kinds of things we have out there. Thank you so much, Joel, for having me. Appreciate it.